Welcome to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall Psychic. My isn't the year marching along. We're already in October, heading towards the festive season. I don't know where the year's gone. I don't know about you, but that's what I'm feeling. It's sort of like another year sort of slipping past us at a very fast rate of knots. So this week we're featuring the Simply Tarot card of the week, and it's one of the aces in the deck, and it's one of the cards I don't know that we've featured very often here on the show. It's called the Ace of Cups. Now, when I see this card come out in a reading, I always immediately think of security. Now, whether that's emotional security, whether it's financial security, or whether it's just a feeling of feeling secure in yourself, that, you know, everything in your life is very sort of peaceful, it's very happy. You know, we can sort of just take a moment or two to just breathe and not really be too flustered or too worried or concerned about anything that's going on around us. We can just be in the moment. It can also be the offer of a helping hand coming from sometimes an unexpected source or an area of your life that you didn't expect. And I think it's really nice in these very busy times, if we can just stop and smell the roses or smell the coffee, as some people say these days, and just be in the moment. And that's what this card reminds me of, that we've got this very secure place that we're coming from, that we can just relax a little bit and just breathe and just enjoy the moment instead of being in such a frantic, frenetic pace that I think most of us live in our lives this day and age. And you can see that really reflected in the amount of new illnesses and things like that people are attracting to themselves, because I think they are just so busy. So maybe this is the card we should make it for the month, never mind the week, of a learning to sort of just breathe and relax and enjoy being where you are at the moment. So that's the Simply Tarot card of the week. For those of you that have never seen the back of these particular cards, these are actually gold cards. And this was from the very, very, very first deck that we brought out in 2005. And it's still sort of today my favourite deck. As you can see, they're quite worn and I get attached to my tarot deck. They're a little bit like my children. I don't like to part with them, even when they are getting a bit dog-eared and sort of worn out, but they get a personality all of their own. And, you know, I'm still very fortunate that I've got to work with the most amazing cards in the world that were taken from the Rider-Waite set. For those people that wonder where we got the idea from, we recreated the Rider deck and brought it into the 21st century. So that's the Simply Tarot set. So we're going to focus now on what's happening astrologically this week. And it's a really interesting week, as I say every week. You know, the stars never sort of tend to disappoint, I suppose, in a sense, but isn't it amazing all the communication that's going on around the world at the moment? Whether you look at the political arenas or whether you just look at what's in the news, there seems to be some feel-good stories, but there's some also not so good feel-good stories. But I don't know about the rest of the world, but I know here in Australia we're in the midst of a lot of demonstrations and protests on every capital city around the country this week. Particularly, they're ramping up, and it's about climate change for us here in Australia, that people are taking to the streets and starting to demand that our local government here in Australia take some more positive steps towards acknowledging the fact that climate change is a real thing, and we've all got to be responsible and do our fair share, or take some form of responsibility for the planet that we live in and we're going to leave behind to our children and our grandchildren. So that brings me to the planet that I want to talk about this week, which is Uranus. Uranus is the planet of the unusual, the unexpected. It can be like the bolt of lightning. It's the planet that sort of comes along and rips everything apart and sort of says, well, okay, you weren't paying attention, or you sent out to the universe you wanted this or you wanted that, so I'm suddenly going to create that opening or that opportunity for you. And it may not always be in the way we expected or we anticipated. So this is where I believe a lot of these demonstrations or people really gaining a voice is coming from the forces and the energy of Uranus sitting in Taurus. Now, Uranus has got a very long trek through Taurus. It's only just really started, been there a bit over 12 months. So we're going to see some people get voices that have never had voices before. And because it's in Taurus, it's going to be done in a very practical, logical, sort of definite sort of way, where they're trying to get their message out there. Now, this week, Uranus is making what's known in astrology terms as a trine to the planet Mercury. For layman's terms, that's sort of like a nice, easy, flowing planet. And because it's sort of, they're both in the same energy, they're both in Earth, where Uranus is in Taurus, but Mercury, the planet of communication, is in Virgo. So it's a very logical, practical way of being able to get out there, get your message across, maybe take people by surprise with Uranus, where a lot of people that are demonstrating here in Australia aren't just university students. There's more mature people. There's people there from, 14 to 90 sort of things, sort of voicing their opinion and saying, you've got to sit up and start to take some notice. So we may see other people taking up the cause around the world too, and we might find in your local area that there's an issue there that people are going to get on their soapbox about, and you sort of think, well, this is about time that people started to talk about this, that we really do as a community need to come together and start to work out what it is that we're going to do to change the things that are going on around us. Now, these two planets are also making another aspect to a planet called Neptune, which Neptune is the planet of creativity, but it can also be the planet of illusion and delusion. And it's sort of asking us not to deceive ourselves, make sure that we're focusing on things in a logical sort of way that people can sort of understand. I think sometimes we can get a little bit too passionate when we get on our soapbox about a cause and we lose sight of the people that we're trying to get to listen to us. So this is where Neptune is in a situation where it's called an inconjunct, or it's sort of saying it doesn't feel comfortable with the connection with Uranus and Mercury. So it's asking you to make sure that you're not deceiving yourself, that you're presenting this in a very logical sort of, even sometimes a creative way. Maybe find a different way of getting your message across. Instead of behaving like children, try and do it in a more mature way, in a way that governments and people in authority are going to sit up and take notice of you, and make sure that you stay on brief. Don't sort of get out there and sort of lose sight of what the cause is because you're in the moment and you're caught up with the energy of all the people and the people power. Make sure that you stay very focused, and so that people that can make decisions and can take notice of what's happening will start to listen to you. The sun is still in Libra, so it still means that we've got this nice sort of gentle energy where we're trying to seek the truth and we're trying to get to the bottom of issues that may be happening in our lives. So usually at this time in the show each week, we focus on a famous person astrologically, and we usually look at the card of the candle of the week. This week, I'm not going to focus on either. I have an announcement to make, and it's something that I'm very proud to sort of be sharing with everyone. We have a brand new tarot project out on the market today, launched last week worldwide, which is called The Secrets of Tarot. Now, for those of you that have been familiar and been watching the show, yes, this is product number 4 for me in our tarot suite. It's always very exciting to me. It's like adding another child to the family when we launch a new project like this. And it's the opportunity for people to be able to teach themselves in the privacy of their own home how to read the tarot cards, or get a group together and learn together. There's a 32-page full colour book that comes with the project, and a set of beautiful tarot cards. Now, how do these differ from the ones that I showed you earlier with the Simply Tarot, which is my original deck? I'll show you in a minute these beautiful cards, but this is still on the teaching that I taught for over 30 odd years. It's a method that works. It's something, if you follow the rules that are in the book and add your own flavour to it, I always teach people to be individual, but if you follow the basic ABCs, we can have you reading your own tarot cards right from the first time that you pick them up if you follow the rules. It's not necessarily an easy subject to learn. I don't think anything that's worthwhile in life is easy, but this is certainly a very simple step-by-step guide. It's like learning your ABCs of the tarot, and then as time goes by, you learn to bring in your own intuition, your own flavour, your own style. So the box is beautiful in this very light purple. It's got beautiful sort of eye on the front of it. The reverse side of the box has just got some information on the cards and about me, the author, and things like that. But I'm really proud to sort of say that that's the latest one in our stable. So what's the difference, I hear you say, with these cards? Well, let's start with the back. The back of the cards is blue, and, it's a very pretty blue with, the mystical sort of bringing in the light, bringing in the mysteries, the answers that maybe we need to have coming towards us. And it's a beautiful back to have. It's very different to the gold one of the original card. Now I'm going to take a card out of here and show you the difference here. So this is the Secrets of Tarot card. what they've done is they've taken the original concept of the Simply Tarot cards, and they've turned them into oldie worldy sort of cards. So they have a very oldie worldy sort of feel. They still have the basic meaning on the bottom of the card, but they are very distinctly different to the Simply Tarot cards. And I know a lot of people have sort of said to me that, you know, this is a totally different feel, a totally different look. Some people love it, some people don't like it so much. It's, I suppose, a matter of personal preference. For me, I've stuck with my original set because they were my original baby, and probably the ones that I suppose, like everybody else, I've got used to, so I tend to sort of stick to what I like. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the Secrets of Tarot. There's absolutely nothing wrong with them. It's just a matter of, I suppose, if I could hold the two cards up together, it's a personal preference of whether you like a clearer sort of photograph or whether you like the oldie worldy look. But they're both beautiful decks to work with, and they will certainly help you get answers in your life very, very quickly. So it's something that I think if you're really interested in tarot, these will be available worldwide. If you're struggling to find a set, you can always jump onto my website, www.amandahallpsychic.com.au. We have plenty of them in stock at the moment, and we are able to ship them worldwide. I suppose the difference with buying them from me is I'm happy to sign the book for you. And, you know, that's the difference to you buying it at your local bookstore. So I also wanted to show you that there's the beautiful 32-page colour book that comes with the set. So it is a complete kit. It's something that you will be able to sort of teach yourself right from the beginning. There's, you know, beautiful diagrams in the book of how to lay the cards out, how to work with them. Let's have a look if we can find another one. It does show you the spreads to work with so that you're working with the cards right from week one, where you've got actual sort of lessons to follow, and it shows you in full colour the cards that we've used and a sample reading so that you can see the magic of how the actual cards work, how they come together, how they tell a story. And I think that's the important thing with tarot is you've got to understand we're telling the story of your life. We're helping you sort of look at the issues or the situations in your life in maybe a different way to the way that you've thought. This one we're featuring here on the screen is working with the major arcana only. Now, the major arcana are the first 22 cards of the tarot deck. They're like the nouns in the sentence. They're the really tough, hard-hitting cards where they sort of really give us the guts of the reading, I suppose, if you want to look at it that way. And in all the years that I was teaching tarot, and I still am, I always like to start with the hardest bit first, because I feel if you master that, then it gives you so much more confidence to move on to the, not so much the easier area of tarot, but to be bringing in the remaining 56 cards. It sort of seems much easier than it is working with the first 22. And the first 22, we have a unique spread that I designed many, many moons ago, over 40 years ago, when I first started teaching tarot. And I needed a spread that sort of started the course off. And this is the spread that I came up with, a very simple spread that works with the major cards only, where we go into the past, present and future, and we work with a direct question. It's a yes or no question situation where we're looking for an answer in the next 3 months. And quite often in our lives, when we're stuck on an issue or we've got a decision to make, we need a yes or no answer. And that's where the Mark and Amanda spread comes in, that you're able to look at it being a direct question that you can sort of answer, you know, will I get the job, or should I change my job, yes or no? And it will give you the reasons why, what's led up to the decision, and what you can expect from this, and is it the right thing to be doing? So it's a spread that I still use personally for myself if I'm in a crisis situation or I need a definite answer to something. And the reasons why it's called the Mark and Amanda spread, because many, many years ago, I got to work with a very famous psychic here in Australia and worldwide called Mark de Pascal. And Mark and I actually sat down and devised this spread together, because we were going to start our journey together as teachers in the wonderful world of tarot long before videos and things like that were really popular. And we'd always dreamed of bringing it to people in that sort of way. We did a lot of teaching in those days remotely by audio cassette, believe it or not, and sending lessons out to our students, and then, you know, going back and putting our findings on an audio cassette with the next lesson. And that's how we taught initially in the days before DVDs and videos. So this is a tried and true method of teaching tarot. I have gone on to teach more advanced courses, but this is the basic introductory one that gives you your ABCs, which to me is where you need to start. You need to start with something that teaches you good procedures, where it teaches you how to protect yourself psychically, how to look after your cards, the do's and don'ts, the history of the tarot, and how it came to be and why we need to treasure what we have in this way. That, they're all sciences, whether it's tarot, astrology, numerology, palmistry, and the list goes on. They are all sciences, and we all still have to believe in that we have free will. We have the ability to change what we don't like in our lives. Nothing is set in concrete or stone. We have the ability to be able to change the course and direction of our destiny by making informed choices. And that's where I think tarot comes in. It helps you make those informed choices. Now, we're going to go to Helen in Brooksville in Florida, USA. Are you there, Helen?
Yes, hi.
Hi, Helen. Do you have a question for me, sweetie?
Am I going to sell my house and when?
Okay. All right, Helen. The first thing that I'm getting is, yes, you're definitely going to sell the house. It's interesting because to me, it's sort of like it had a little bit of a stale energy around it there for a little while. And this is why I feel that you were concerned that it was never going to sell. Was it just that maybe you weren't ready emotionally to let go of it, even though you'd put the house on the market and you'd done all the physical things to get it ready? But were you not emotionally ready to let go of it till just recently?
Yeah.
And that's the reason why
we've both been living there for quite a long time. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's, it's hard, even though you've made a conscious decision, it's time to move on, to emotionally sort of, put things in place and to sort of let go of the memories and be ready to just take them with you as memories and not something you can physically walk through and take a, stop in a moment and remember this and remember that. It's always a very major decision. So yes, I do believe the house is going to sell. They're showing it to me as if it's already sold. So when they show me something like that, Helen, it means it's very close now. It's sort of, it may not have physically happened yet, but it's about to happen. I'm seeing it being sold to a reasonably young couple with a family. And I feel that when they come to look at the house, you're going to look at them and think, gee, I don't know whether they've got enough money to buy it. Don't judge a book by its cover, sweetheart. Just because they mightn't be dressed in $1 million suit doesn't necessarily mean they haven't got the resources to buy the house. But they walk in the front door and they immediately feel the love of what this house represents and, the good and the bad times that have happened in that house. They pick up on all that. And to them, they feel like they've come home. So to them, it's the right purchase. I think you'll get very close to the asking price for it, and I think everything will go through smoothly. I'm not saying it's an unconditional cash contract, Helen, but what I am saying is that there's no hiccups with it going through fairly quickly. So you've got somewhere else that you're ready to move to, Helen?
Yeah, I'm thinking about Indiana instead of Florida.
Okay. So has that been sort of like the toing and froing for a while about where to go and what to do next?
Well, we're just not sure where we want to end up. I just know that, we can't take care of this house anymore. So, yeah, we want to move on.
No, I
a little smaller,
that.
Downsize.
Yeah, I understand that. But I just sort of feel that maybe you haven't actually sort of settled on the area or the location you're going to yet. I want to throw a third place into the mix. They haven't shown me a name, so I can't be any more helpful than that. But they're just saying to me, once the house has got a contract on it, the answers will come very quickly and you'll know where you want to go and what you want to do, and it will be easy then. It'll be sort of like, this is right. We know exactly where we're going. But Helen, I know the house is going to sell fairly quickly, so keep your eye out for a young couple that aren't dressed in $1 million suit with 2 or 3 children tagging along. They're the ones that are going to buy it, and they're going to really enjoy the home and turn it into their home, and that's wonderful. That's where we're going to leave it now, Helen.
Yeah.
We're going to go to Felice now in Pennsylvania, in Milford in Pennsylvania. Are you there, Felice?
Yes, I'm here.
Do you have a question I can work with, sweetie?
Absolutely, yes. I wanted to see if there was any way, if anybody could connect with my sister, my identical twin sister.
Okay, darling. Look, it's not easy in a very short time that we've got. If you give me a question, if your sister wants to come through, she'll interrupt and give me a message. How's that sound?
I missed that last part. I'm sorry.
If you give me a question, if your sister wants to connect with us, she'll come through and give me a message. But it's easier for me if you ask me a direct question because we have such a
I
limited
want to
time.
ask you a direct question.
Yes, please.
Okay. I mean, the direct question is she, I guess, is she with my mother? Is she with the rest of the family? I mean, I guess that's my question. Is she okay?
Oh, of course.
Is she with
Yes,
my
darling,
mom?
Okay, sweetheart. Look, nobody's ever come through from the other side and told me that they weren't happy, that they weren't secure, that they weren't pain free, whatever tormented them, whether it was physically, mentally, emotionally here on earth, that seems to be gone. Your sister's certainly back there with your mum, that's for sure. And when you and your sister were much younger, was it something that you and your sister used to do was to sort of spend a lot of time, particularly in the springtime, going out and getting flowers out of the meadow or something like that? Because she's showing me sort of flowers that are growing wildly. And she's showing me her about 8 or 9, and the two of you sort of running through a field or something like that, gathering these flowers, even if they were only weeds, but being happy and excited and free. And sort of then mum coming along and saying, come on, it's time to come home now. But it's sort of like that's what she's taking me back to, that she's really happy. She's at peace now. I feel that there were some unanswered questions around her passing. Is that true?
No, not that it was just very unexpected, her passing, I should say. Very unexpected. There was about 3 people that were charged for her death, so.
Oh dear, how terrible. Well, then that would be why she's saying the unanswered questions. Like, there was things there that I had 3 question marks. So that must be the 3 people that were charged with her death. Were they known to her?
I'm sorry?
Were they known to her? Did she know them?
She did know, I believe, one of them. I mean, she was all black and blue when we found her. They did say, there was physical altercation, but yeah, she did know who they were.
Yeah, because she keeps sort of saying to me that she didn't expect they would do this, like she was quite taken by surprise.
Right. Right, which basically these girls, they were caught Googling how to mix certain things, and yes, taken by surprise. I could see that being possible. Yes.
Well, that's what she was saying to me, like she was surprised, and I don't mean in a good way, but she was taken by surprise. It wasn't anything that she expected. She never felt like she was in any danger. She keeps saying to me that she can't give you much more information than that. So I can only take from that, whatever transpired, she blacked out or was unaware of what was put upon her. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think she felt the physical pain of the bruises and things like that were inflicted on her. It was like she was already taken from that, as if somebody sort of like as if your mother came down and put her arms around her and protected her on a soul level from that. Do you know what I mean? Like she was already sort of not necessarily gone, but sort of in an altered state of consciousness where she didn't feel it and doesn't remember it.
Right. No, I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. I did. Yeah, and it's funny because I'm sorry.
I said your mum was always very protective as you girls were growing up.
Very, yeah. Very.
Yeah, and that's why I feel it was her that came down. That's why I feel it was her that came and protected your sister from this at the end. She couldn't stop it, but she could minimise what your sister would remember or would feel.
Right. Right. But no, I understand what you're saying. I understand. I mean, I'm
Yes.
glad that the whole family is up there together. You know, I wish there were more signs. There were certain little signs here and there that I was getting, with the Christmas lights going off and the music and the green looking orb. But I mean, other than that, I just, every time I'm asking for a sign, I don't get anything from her. And that makes me a little selfish on my end, but
what you've got to understand is they've got to build up sort of like an energy on the other side. It takes them time to sort of build up that energy to be able to connect with you. So next time the Christmas lights go on and off, or you walk out and the pictures have been moved or whatever, just know that that's her, and acknowledge that out aloud, because that actually gives her more energy to be able to connect with you. But they connect with us from the other side in many different ways, sweetheart. It doesn't always have to be something that we can say, oh, wow, that was my sister. It can just be a song. Right. It can be something from the television. It can be a memory. It can be a thought. So just acknowledge those things, sweetheart. Unfortunately, we've come to the end of the show. I wish you and your family well. And just know that your sister and all the family on the other side are with you every single day, sweetheart. So we have come to the end of the show, so the half hour goes very quick each week. So what I can say to you is, if you've lost somebody, just remember that they are always there. They do see what's going on in our day-to-day lives. They don't always feel the need to come through and have a chat or give us a sign that they're there. Just know that they are always with us. There's nobody that's ever gone through to the other side that isn't pain-free, whether it's physically or emotionally. They are all pain-free, and they are all there to keep a guiding eye on us, not necessarily to control or dominate our lives. They just keep a watchful eye over us. So until next week, be kind to each other, be aware of your communications, and don't forget to smile. Bye for now.